ladies. Welcome back to another episode of Perspectives with Sherry. I am your host, Sherry Ryan, and today I am joined by a very special guest, Caroline Millet. And oh gosh, this has been an episode that I've been so excited to bring to all of you. You know that we started in July talking about our theme was the heart of it all, and we were talking about all things relationships, whether it was relationship with yourself, dating, marriage, learning how to navigate after divorce, family relationships, relationships with, friends, all the things, right? And Caroline, I thought was so cool because she was a former matchmaker, and now she has navigated into life coaching, certified NLP, and can kind of navigate all those things into one to help those that are struggling with getting back out there or getting out there for the first time, wherever you fall in that spectrum. But before we get into it, and I am excited to do so, let me do a few admin things, guys. So if you're new at Perspectives with Sherry, over here, it is a safe space for women in midlife, quite frankly, all women. But we do focus on women that are over 40. And we talk all things health, wealth, and empowerment. And there are so many things that feeds those three themes. So we focus on all of that. So welcome. Also, if you haven't already and you've watched some of the interviews and the vlogs that we do over here, go ahead and subscribe, give us the thumbs up, and please don't be shy. Comment. Let us know what you thought about the episode. If you're listening out there on audio podcast, welcome as well. Listen, we are available everywhere that you listen on audio podcasts. Go ahead, follow us, and leave us a review. So thank you so much. Caroline, thank you so much for being here.
Thanks so much for having me, Sherry. I'm super excited.
I am as well. All right, guys, I want to tell you a little bit about Caroline, and then we're going to get right into the interview. So, like I mentioned before, she is a former matchmaker turned certified NLP and life coach, and she specializes in helping people navigate dating burnout. Listen, it's such a thing. It's a big thing. Also, rediscover confidence and redefine their relationship goals. She's got over 30 years of real life experience in love, loss, parenting, and personal reinvention. Caroline brings unmatched empathy and insight to her coaching. So she's really good, y'all. Her journey includes just about every stage of modern romance, cross country moves for love, marriage, divorce, single parenting, and ultimately rediscovering herself and finding a partner who fits her heart in the most unexpected but perfect way. Love wins, guys. Caroline now empowers clients to rewrite their own love stories, offering one-on-one coaching and her signature e-course, It's About You. Whether you're fresh out of a long-term relationship or exhausted by the dating scene, Caroline helps you break old patterns, clarify what you truly want, and that's important because I don't think some of us even know, and create a practical path to emotional alignment and authentic connection. She's not just giving advice, y'all. She's lived it. And now she's here to help you do the same. So again, welcome, Caroline.
Thank you. Thank you. What a lovely description. I really appreciate that.
No problem. It is accurate, by the way. So I always love to give everybody their flowers, honey. Yes. So
Thank you.
thank you so much again for being here. All right, we're going to get right into it. Okay.
Yay. Okay.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's start with the shift. Okay. You
Okay.
went from matchmaking to certified NLP in life coaching. What prompted that transition, and what did you notice was missing for many of your clients?
So after matchmaking was one of my dream jobs, and so I was very very excited to do it, right? And at the heart of it, it's sales, right? It's a sales
Mhm.
role, and um, the thing is that I really learned I mean, I did the math. I probably met with like over 800 singles just during that period.
Wow.
And they all really believe that they were one kind of like meeting one person away from this dream, this perfection. And that is almost never the case, right?
Mm,
Problems that you had in another relationship, yeah, part of it was that, like, that person wasn't right for you, but most of the things that you struggle with are not going to automatically be solved by a person, like another
mhm,
person, and it's not like, if I just find this puzzle piece that fits perfectly, then all these problems will go away, and those are people. I mean, gosh, when I was dating, I would meet men, in their 50s still dating because they really did believe that any difficulties they were having would just be solved by the exact right person, just
mhm,
sort of meshing into, you know, to fit with them. And that's just not the case. That's just not the case. You're always 50% of whatever was going on in your relationship.
mhm,
Um, so I started to realize like there were things that people could be doing. And within the context, because I worked for another company, within the context of what my job was with them, I could give people bits of, activities, exercises, thought exercises, and kind of assignments and things like that to kind of move them along that path. But there was never enough time to actually really dive into it
mm,
because at the end of the day, I had a contract to fulfill, and which was like X amount of dates and X period of time. Like I will introduce you to a certain amount of people within a certain period of time. And so I really realized like this isn't the solution. And I would rather give people permanent solutions, like permanent toolkits to help them along the path, rather than say, based on how I perceive you and what you're telling me, here's someone I think you might like, right?
mhm, mhm.
Because how people perceive you is rarely how you see yourself. They're usually not super aligned, right?
Very true.
Um, and so, like you said, I'm approachable. I sometimes feel like I'm not, you know? So it's kind of like that. Like, sometimes I think I'm, I think I'm having fun and someone else thinks I'm obnoxious, whatever. It's, we're rarely aligned, right, with
Right.
that. And so if you can't really see yourself super clearly and you believe that you're one date away from everything being solved, like, you're really not gonna make any progress, and so
Mhm,
it would be better if you really get clear on who you are, what you want it, why you think you
mhm,
want it. A lot of us want
mhm.
things we don't even know why. We've just
Yep.
been telling ourselves that story for so long. It's like everyone wants to buy a house. You know what? Maybe you don't.
Right?
Maybe your investment plan is different, right? It
Yeah.
doesn't You have to be willing to let go of these things and re-identify them. So that's kind of how I made that shift, because I would rather than say like, well, our contract is up, you met X amount of people, it didn't really work out, or I hope you learn something and be on your way. I'd rather say like, here's your tools and now go on your way, because
Yep.
you now know what to do. And if you go through this cycle again, say you go into a relationship and it ends, you know where to come back to. You have a grounding spot to come back to and reimagine with what you've learned where you're going to go next.
Yep.
That's a
I
long
love
answer.
Yeah, no, but I mean, it's a good answer because it makes sense. I can shove great, 6 candidates in front of your face and say, "Here, go date them." And, but you're right, if you haven't taken the time to get the tools, figure out what it even is you want, uh, it's empty dating, right? I mean,
Yeah.
so I love the fact that you had the wherewithal to take the shift and say, "Look, I may be meeting my quota, but I really want to help people." And so really
Mm.
helping them meant diving a little deeper than, all right, you want somebody that's 6'2", that like, I mean, you know what I mean? So I,
Yeah.
I respect that. I respect that. I respect that about you, that you
Yeah.
obviously cared more about your clients than being a number. So I think that's amazing.
Yeah. Oh, thank you.
Yeah. So, we all know dating in midlife can come with grief, hope, and reinvention. All those things, honey. What are some of the biggest emotional blocks you see in women trying to re enter the dating world after divorce or a long break?
That's a really good question. So, I would say that one of the really common things is people seeking the familiar, like
Yeah.
responding first to the familiar.
Hmm.
And I would say that, like, if something's familiar, that doesn't mean it's good.
Right.
And if it's familiar, it can often be the opposite, right? It can often be that, like, it's familiar because it's a dynamic you're used to that didn't work.
Right.
It didn't work, right? If
Yeah.
it did, you'd still be in that relationship.
Hmm.
So it's thinking the familiar is good and that, something that feels familiar is love. I say a lot, like, we don't chase memories of love. We don't compare loves. That early experience you had of love or that first experience you had of a certain type of love is not the only love. It's just how that love dynamic happened at that time, right? And there are many factors as to why it felt that way at that time. So it's really recognizing that, like, you're growing and changing. How you experience love with different people is going to grow and change. And so you need to go at it a lot more level-headed than just looking for, like, a feeling you recognize, right?
Hmm.
Another thing that I would say is really common is, like, not defining your role in the world and the space that you take up within it, and
Mm.
feeling that you know your own voice, you trust yourself fully. You don't have those things, you're gonna fall for the wrong person again, the wrong dynamic again. So that is super, super important. And listen, I'm not gonna ever say, like, this is easy work to do, but it's really important to do, right?
Hmm.
Especially as you get to midlife. And if you have spent, like, a lot of women, our age have spent a lot of their lives in a relationship,
Hmm.
and it's going to shape who you are. It's going to shape
Absolutely.
what you think you're capable of, what your limitations are. And so you really need to, like, imagine yourself, like, cracking out of an egg, like just cracking out of a mold and just going, like, no, I get to decide. Today is my first step and I get to decide from here on out, right?
Yep.
And then I think the other thing that a lot of women, especially in our generation, and I don't know, if, like, the millennials will feel this way. I don't know if, like, Gen Z is going to feel this way, but it's an unidentified focus on perception and judgment. So, we don't live our lives just to be witnessed by others, right?
Right.
You're supposed to live your life for you along with your values, your goals. And so I think a lot of people don't even realize that they're holding on to a piece of, what will people say? How will this look?
Yeah.
What will other people think? And so you might meet someone who is totally off type, right? And they're maybe not from your background. They're maybe, you don't have a lot in common, but they're treating you really well. You're enjoying your time with them. You feel good with them. You're happy. Like, I promise you, the people in your life who truly love you and truly care about you just want that. They just
Yeah.
want you to be treated well and for you to be feeling like you're capable of, like, happiness and, like, good things happening, right? With
Mhm.
somebody who's treating you well. They're not going to care
Right.
about, like, their background. Like, people who truly love you will not care about that. And I think that if we were sold this image, that trying to, like, shoehorn ourselves into this image, house, 2 kids, whatever, right? The husband, you know, the career, the whole thing, and you're trying to shoehorn yourself into that, and you're not giving yourself space to just go, I don't know how this is gonna look.
Mhm. Mhm.
Let's just
Mhm.
see."
Yeah.
Right? Let's just see. You can have goals and be open to, let's just see. And I'm willing to discover myself, and I'm willing to say I might be different than I thought I was. And it
Yeah.
might look different. Happiness might look different than I think it does. And not to say, I'm trying to reframe how I talk about happiness, because of what Ocean Vuong said about happiness, which was like,
Oh.
when you just tell someone to be happy and they're like, well, how do I do that? Right. And it just becomes this, like, struggle where it's like, when a lot of life isn't happy. but it's and I always thought contentedness means settling. But now in
Mm,
my older years, I feel like being content doesn't mean that everything is fine.
no.
It means that you are accepting things that aren't fine. You're
Yeah.
accepting things without that are not within your control
Yeah.
and that you can't change things and you're picking your battles, like contentedness can come from just like, I trust myself. And so I feel like being a parent now, I really want to talk to my daughter differently about happiness and her goals in life. And, I just, I'm trying to like really shift how I talk to her about that
Mhm.
because, but I digressed.
Yeah.
To
No,
say,
you were onto something here. I mean, no, I get it. I get it. I think it is, like you said, honing in on the word reinvention. If you find yourself starting over or, getting back out there in midlife after a divorce, after a long relationship, or whatever the case may be, um, you're right. You want to tend to reinvent when you thought was great. Sometimes what just feels safe, but it wasn't right. If it was right,
mhm,
like you said, you'd still be there.
mhm,
Um, and so it makes perfect sense, learning to lean into the fact that that could look very different from you now, and being open to
mhm,
something different, being open to, because who you were 20 years ago, I mean, unless there's something wrong, you have gone through some things, evolved, and you've grown as a woman.
mhm,
So what served you 20 years ago may not serve you now, and that's
mhm.
okay. Yeah.
Well, and
So I
let's
would
not, understate the effect hormones have had on your mind and your decisions.
Yeah.
And when you reach 40 and they start to die off, you're essentially no longer on drugs.
Yeah.
You're
Yeah, I
sober
like that.
for
I
the
like
first
that.
time, and that can bring about a lot of anger for
Yeah.
sure, right?
Yeah.
Because you're like, "Why did I make those decisions?" Hey, it's okay. You were driven biologically to
Yeah.
prioritize and socially to prioritize certain things that you now realize were not serving your end goals of how you wanna live your life, how you wanna see yourself, the person you wanna be. That's okay. You
Yeah.
start over.
Yeah.
It's
That's
fine.
so
And you're
good.
starting over so much better now because, again, you're not on drugs.
Literally,
I
I
mean, you
love
might
that.
be on Lexapro, I don't know about that, but
Hey,
you're not on the ones you didn't agree to, right? We did
exactly.
not raise our hand and go, "Shove me so full of hormones, I look at every man and, I see stars and if I smell the right cologne, I, like, am just dreaming about
I'm there.
us making marinara sauce together," like, whatever. That's not now it's just dinner. You just gotta make dinner. You
Right.
right? Like
Oh, yes.
and,
Yes.
most men smell bad more often than they smell good, like, that now, and you accept that as, part of it. You're not
Exactly.
romanticizing these things
Right.
anymore. It's not to say there isn't romance, but the glasses, the rose-colored glasses, they are off, and you're gonna go through a lot of stuff around that,
Yeah.
but it's really also a rebirth,
Yeah.
it's like and you can go back, you can do it again knowing what you know now. You really can
Yeah.
rewrite it.
Totally rewrite it. I love it.
Mhm.
Yep. Yeah. Awesome. Awesome answer. All right, so that brings us to our next question. As a former matchmaker, what surprised you most about what women think they want versus what actually creates a healthy relationship? And maybe we
Oh.
kind of like touched on it a little bit. I don't know.
There were certain things that I could almost predict. So,
Okay.
one was that, so women who hire matchmakers generally are very career focused, right? They're high achieving women and they really have this mindset that and the men too, right? But like usually people who hire a matchmaker have a mindset around like, I have the resources to get help for this. The
Yep.
same way you go, I have the resources to have a house cleaner, right?
Yep.
Right? So, they're very career focused, so they would really come in and describe a business partner.
Got it.
And what was pretty common was that men who were at that level, they don't want to feel in competition. with a woman.
Mm,
And we can dissect that. We can talk about how dumb that is, whatever, how insecure,
right.
whatever. That's just how I'm just telling you how it is, right?
It's just what it is. Yeah.
It's just how it is. So they don't want to feel in competition. And so they want, they want to go, oh, I want someone down here. And a
Hmm.
woman's like, for me to respect him, he's got to be here or here. And
Yes.
so it just ends up being like this mismatch of what they're looking for. And they weren't describing someone they want to come home to after one of their like challenging days or after they're like on a trip, a business trip. It's all stressful. They weren't describing that. They were describing somebody who was like, again, like boardroom, not the bedroom.
Yeah.
Um, so that was super common. I could almost predict it. The other thing I could almost always predict with women especially was that they would ask for about 10% of what they could offer someone. And we can talk about
Mm,
the bar being in hell and everything, but essentially they had internalized so much like achievement and like living at a certain level that it is hard, like it was hard for them to see how they stacked up.
hmm.
And so, one of the things that I think is really important is this thing I call like the potluck list, which is essentially like you're throwing a potluck like for Thanksgiving. And if I'm bringing the turkey, you don't get to bring napkins. Like
Right.
I'm bringing a turkey, you're bringing 2 pies,
Yep.
right? Like,
At least.
that's how we, not parity, right? Some parity
Right.
here. So they would
Right.
ask for about 10% of what they were looking for. And a lot of men would show up with quite a laundry list. But when I would have to go write a bio about them, some of them were very challenging. Like I didn't really have it was hard to come up with things to say. And the fact that like that's where standards were and that somehow was okay
Mm,
was pretty disheartening.
mm,
Another reason why I was like, I just can't in this format sit down with someone and go, do you understand how great you are?
right.
Right? Because I also can't tell them like, "You're so great, you should be asking for someone like this," when
Yeah.
someone like this wants someone down here,
Yeah.
right?
Oh
And
gosh.
so then I'd be setting them up for failure and setting myself up for failure. So I couldn't do that. It doesn't feel good to try to tell a woman that, like, the things she wants are unlikely to happen.
Mm,
It's better to get a really clear view of yourself that when
mm.
you have that, it makes you see other people more clearly too.
Yes. Yes. Yeah, no, that's wow. That's interesting. And it's so funny because I had a conversation, I'd watched something on a different podcast about that same thing. Um, there was a guy that was really successful in saying that, a successful woman, he asked this woman that was really successful, like, oh, I'm sure your DMs are full and, blah, blah, blah. And she was like, oh, no, no, they're not. So then he proceeds to try to correct her and say, well, you know why? Because a lot of women like you that are successful and, you have all these things going on, a man that is on your level doesn't want to feel like, you want to be the man, that you're going to be in here trying to tell him what to do. And, that, and she handled it better than I would have. She was very calm and she said, no, listen, I think the misconception is that women that are successful, women that are bosses, women that, have all the things happily to meet a man that, like you said, that is here, um, will lean in to letting you can take your boss hat off and be that's when I will tap into my feminine side. If I respect
Mhm,
you, then we're good, But we
mhm,
don't have to go through the Neanderthal ways of saying I have to be quiet and shrink to make you feel like a man. I would naturally respect the man that you are. It's like this, it works when it works. And
mhm,
I think, and I'm sure I know because we've had conversations off camera that men that are successful don't realize, you don't have to go here so that you feel validated or somehow more manly or more in control, when a woman that's here would also give you that out of just sheer respect. I mean, there, uh, can't generalize, because there are some women, and men that just, you can't, everybody's not the same, but I'm saying in general speaking, no woman wants to be on go all the time. If you have a safe space where when I come home and I'm not in the boardroom running those meetings, or running that business or whatever, I can come home in a safe space, and I'm okay with that. And so I hate that's a thing in dating, and it drives me insane. It's something that I went through when I was dating before I was blessed enough to meet my now husband, but it's a real thing. So yeah, Caroline, thanks for highlighting that. Ugh,
Well, I
yeah,
think the other thing is that, and again, hopefully, like, we're going through a culture shift on this, but is
yeah,
that people of being like, I think one of the most boring things you can ask someone is like, "What do you do?"
hmm,
Right? Because what you do is not who you are,
right,
and what you do can change, right? So it's not your identity.
right,
And if we are talking about like a generation of people, like say we're talking about like Gen X and up, right?
right,
Who really do define themselves on their career, then like
hmm,
let's say if most men define themselves on what they do and not who they are, then they aren't going to understand that a woman isn't like that,
right,
right? They
right,
don't see it. So, they don't know that it's like, "Okay, I'm senior VP of marketing at Microsoft," or whatever it is, right? Because I live
right,
in Seattle, so that's, like, kind of the clients that I had. So, they don't know that, like, that person, like, she's just like, "Yeah, I do this job, and I have to have this facet of myself very active during the day, but when I come home, I am now your partner and a
yeah,
mother." And that is the identity, like, I really value, that feeds my soul, that allows me
mm,
the strength to go do this other job, but is
that's
not
it.
who I am. And
Yeah,
I think that if a man's like, you know, "I'm an accountant," you know what I mean? Like, it's like,
yeah,
that's not who you are. That's what you
hmm,
do. It's a different
right,
thing. And so again, it's like not seeing it in themselves. They can't see it in other people. Again, not to generalize. I don't love
same,
generalizing around this, but
right,
like I think that, we can all admit to being victims of societal norms,
hmm,
and at the same time, like, really work to move past them.
hmm, hmm. No, that's really really good. All right. Let's shift focus a little bit, and we're going to talk about single motherhood and dating. Um, how does being a single mom change the dating experience, and what mindset shifts are important for women raising children while trying to find love?
So I think there are so many things. So, first of all, single parenting is messy. It's just
Yeah.
messy work, right? And you really wanna have your ducks mostly in a row before
Hmm.
you're dating, before you think about dating, right? And I'm not saying it has to be perfect, but we have limited capacity in a day. "Oh, yes,
Hmm.
I'm limitless, blah, blah, blah," but you're not. You have so much in a day. Like that time where you feel like your brain, like, is just pushing at the edges of your brain and you're like, I cannot do this right now, right? So you need to accept that you have a limited capacity in your brain. And so if someone comes along and they take up like too much of your time and energy, other things suffer. Other
Right.
things suffer that you now, like as a single parent, need to be handling, you know?
Hmm.
So what I think is the best, what I think is the best way to manage this is you go, okay, here I have my list of priorities. And I'm not saying I stick to it perfectly all the time, but whenever something is wrong, it's because I'm not following the list,
Hmm.
right? So my list of priorities was, you know, for me, it was my kid, myself, my work and my financial security, studying to finish my degree, rebuilding my community for myself. And then it was a date. Then it was a man.
Yep.
6th. 6th,
Yep. Six on
okay?
the list.
That's
Yeah.
6th, okay? And, again, I didn't stick to that perfectly every day, but it was like it was my North Star. So when things started to feel, kind of all over the place, I would be like, okay, what's out of whack right now? And it was like
Mhm.
inevitably I had moved the wrong thing up and the wrong thing down, right?
Mhm.
So the other thing I think is to really know why you're dating. If it's just because you feel lonely, you can solve that with friendship and
Right.
rebuilding your community and get a lot from that, right? If it's just because 'cause you're horny, like, okay, fair enough, right? Then just know that that doesn't necessitate, like, an emotional connection or any kind of commitment.
Right.
And if it's, you just want attention, okay, that's okay, but know, again, that, like, you're taking a risk, you have limited time and resources, and this is how you're choosing to spend it, right? And if it's because you're trying to create that picture of that thing that you had let go of, um, just know that you're allowed to create a new picture, a new dream, it
Right.
might be like, I remember just getting to a point where I said, "I don't know if I ever wanna own a house again." Like, if I can just rent, like, that's fine. I'd rather put
Mhm.
that money towards something else. I'd rather be
Mhm.
saving up for something else.
Mhm.
And, um, and I did end up buying a house later, but, like, it wasn't a major goal of mine. And
Mhm.
letting go of certain things, it might just be that, you're like, "Okay, actually, I really think I just wanna be single and, like, sometimes date or have, like, short romances, whatever." Okay. You can do that. You
Yeah.
can do that. You don't this is your life. You can do that, right? So, like, my
Right.
personal mantra is, "I'm allowed."
That's good.
Like,
Yeah.
whenever
Yeah.
I'm like, "Oh, can I do this?" I'm allowed.
I'm
No, I'm
allowed.
allowed. Because
I love that.
especially if you were raised by or partnered to somebody who's really controlling, I say partner loosely,
Mhm.
'cause if they're really controlling, you're not really partners, right?
Right.
But is that I felt like I needed, like, permission and approval for a lot of things,
Mm.
and that's caused a lot of conflict because 'cause I'm not that kind of person.
Yep. Yep.
I'm a little more ungovernable
Right?
than that, right? And so to end up in that dynamic, it just took me and it, like, squashed me down and until I didn't recognize myself anymore. So whenever I start to feel, like, hesitancy around doing something, I'm like, "Wait, I'm allowed.
Mhm.
No, I'm allowed to go do this." And I still have issues with that. Like, the other day, I really wanted some french fries, and I am allowed to swing through Jack in the Box and get some french fries if I want to. But
Absolutely.
part of me was like, like, I felt like I would have to do it surreptitiously, as if my partner would care. He wouldn't. He'd be like, "Oh, you got french fries,"
Yeah.
"Oh, I," like, he would not care. In my
Mhm.
head, though, he would. It's not tied to reality at all.
Right.
But I was like, "Oh, that's so naughty."
Yeah.
Like, am I should I what if what if he smells it? He's not gonna care. He's not going to care. Do you know, like, only a few months ago did I even think, like, we were out running errands and we were across the street from Burger King and we have gone grocery shopping. I was hungry and I was like, "Listen, I'm hungry. I really want some fries." And I was like, "Can we go to Burger King? It's across the street and get fries?" Like, I had never in all those years thought to ask him that
Oh, wow.
because I didn't wanna be a bother.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then I'm like, "Wait, I have, like, a girlfriend card." Like, I can do that. I can be like,
Totally.
"Hey, can we stop and get some,"
Totally.
like, it's
Let's go get
totally
some fries from Burger
I
King.
know. I was like, "I'm, like, too independent, but also, like, not independent enough." It's this weird, but just, like, realizing, like, and I was like, "God, I feel uncomfortable asking this." He's given me 0 evidence that it's not okay.
Right.
There's no evidence that I
Yeah.
can't ask for that.
That was
I
all
just
you.
never
Yeah.
had. So embarrassing.
That is
We're good
so
friends.
funny. But you got your fries right. Glad to know.
They're my
But yeah,
weakness. French fries.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes we put that stuff on ourselves. Well, most times, all times, we put a
Yeah.
lot of that stuff on ourselves, and maybe
Yeah,
it's
it's
what we
like
were taught to believe about ourselves in unhealthy relationships. So I get what you're saying. Yeah.
yeah, it's that, like, well-worn path in your brain that
Hmm.
you keep walking even though it's led you nowhere good,
Right.
right?
Right.
And so I'm like, "Okay," I stop and I take out a stick in my head and I start to, like, bushwhack.
Yeah.
And I'm like, "We're making a new path.
Yes.
This
Yes.
path doesn't go where I wanna go." I'm
Right.
making and I, like, imagine myself, like, walking through the forest of my mind and, like, making a new path because it's your brain will automatically take the ones you know.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's good. No, that's really good. And I like how you phrase that. You literally, have to shift your mind into thinking, no, new
Take out your
paths.
stick.
Don't go. Yeah, like, don't go that way. You've been down that road. It didn't work out so well for you.
You're allowed
New
to have fries
Yeah.
when you
Yeah,
want them. You are an adult, and you can have fries
absolutely.
when you want them.
You can have all the fries you want,
You can
ladies.
have fries for breakfast. It's your business. You're an adult.
Your business. Love it. I might get some fries after this interview.
Yeah, right.
Um, okay. So, all right, next question. Many women over 40 feel like the dating pool is shrinking because yeah, it feels that way. What's your take on the narrative and how can women shift their mindset around what's possible?
Well, it's true. It's true, and if you know anything about attachment styles, you know why it's true, right? Is
Yeah.
that the secure attachers, the ones we want,
Oh, yeah.
are already in relationships because they're secure attachers, right?
Hmm.
Now, it doesn't mean there aren't any out there, for sure. It
Right.
doesn't mean that you should give up on, like, wanting that loving, supportive relationship, but as I alluded to before, we're at a cultural crossroads, right?
Hmm.
Where
Hmm.
where the things that men, especially in our generation again, please tell me it's gonna be the last one in
I
this
hope so.
storyline, right? I
Me
just need the
too.
Gen X men to be the last in the
Me
storyline, but,
too.
like,
Hope so.
are have been raised and taught that their job and the role that they need to fulfill is now one women no longer need fulfilled,
Hmm.
right? So then they don't know where to go and what to do, and we can sit there and tell them, but in the same way I have trouble being allowed to ask for french fries,
Yeah.
right? And you could tell me, you could be like, "Just go get the fr," and I would be like, you know,
I know.
we can sit there and tell them, "Hey, these are the things you need to do." But there's it has to come from within,
Hmm.
right? They have to want it for themselves, and until
Right.
they have that wake-up call on their own and find their own reasons and, because it can't be due to lack of opportunity, because that just puts people on the defensive. It
Hmm.
has to, like, come from their own reasons, unfortunately. Um, I when I start to think like, "Oh gosh, how is this ever going to get better?"
Hmm.
I remind myself it only took one generation for men to start wearing their babies in slings.
True. That is
Those men
true.
you see walking around, I mean, Gen X men wore their babies in slings, especially, the younger ones, and
Yeah.
their dads never would have done that. Their dads
Absolutely not.
never would have taken the baby out for a day alone to give mom a break. Like,
Mm-mm.
they wouldn't have done that. It only took one generation. And so I know change is possible, whenever I
Mhm.
think, "Oh, it's not getting better." Um, I mean, my daughter's 18, and so I see some of the kids in her generation, and sometimes I'll hear boys say something where I'm like, "What? Is this still going on? Is this still are you still doing this? Is this still
Yeah.
happening?" Right? I I start to feel like, "Oh, there is no hope," but I just remind myself, one generation.
Yeah. One
And even
generation.
if we know that the numbers of, like, men who when they get married think that they're going to be equal partners in the household, and then it immediately is not how it works out, right? They're, like, not doing the chores, blah, blah, blah. the mere fact that they had the intent
Mhm.
is a huge change. It's a
Yeah.
massive change. And so we can be frustrated it's not happening faster, but I do think we have to, as much as I've done it already today, but we need to really stop with like the sweeping generalizations and like the assumptions that people like can't learn, because it really just puts people on the defensive and they're not opening up to like new things. I mean,
Yeah.
I know there are good ones out there. I know a lot of them. And I know a lot of people who are like 80% there, right?
Mm.
They're
Mhm.
80% there. And
Yeah.
so I'm not saying like settle, but I am saying that if you walk around and you're like, gosh, everyone's trash, then everyone's trash.
That's a good point. Good
You
point.
know? So you have to like change your perspective shift. It's
Mhm.
really a personal inward alignment. Um again, not saying it's easy, but it is kind of simple,
Mhm.
to say like, okay, here's what I can control, here's what I can't. Here's
Right.
what I can do around how I'm thinking about things, how I'm learning, how I'm moving forward. Here's what I'm open to, but here's what I'm not waiting for,
Mhm. I love that. Mhm.
because you should be living your life.
Absolutely.
You don't
Absolutely.
wait around for someone else to start your life. You go live it now. So,
Love that.
I don't know if that answers your question. I feel like, no, the dating pool it is shrinking. It does shrink as you get older.
Shrinking.
It's just naturally going to.
Sure.
And the other thing is that if like say women in our generation have this like wake up call, especially when they're off the drugs and you're like clear headed,
Uh-huh.
but the men aren't.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's you know what? It's not easy, but it's not impossible. It's not
It's not.
impossible. Mm-mm.
No, yeah, I agree with you. It's not, ladies, stay the course. It's not impossible.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. What are some red flags and green flags women tend to overlook when dating in midlife?
Well, gosh, there's so many. So I think it's like pretty typical in midlife, like that you're dating someone who's divorced.
Yeah.
And it's really easy to kind of fall for their narrative of what happened
Mm,
in the marriage, and like really villainize their ex and
mm,
not really take a lot of responsibility for what happened, right? It was always like I was in this single parents club early on, which it was really nice. I made some like lifelong friends there, and but we used to joke around. We were like, "Oh, isn't it weird how everyone who joined this club was the one who in the marriage was the right one?"
hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. And it was like, what are the chances? There's like 1,500 people in this group, like in this meetup group, and everyone's the right one and their
Uh-huh.
partner was wrong. And we would
Oh,
joke
yeah.
about that, right? Like, so I'm saying if that happens, and like I know my ex did that to me, like met someone else right away, told her all this stuff that I am assuredly like it's false, it's false. Um,
I can
and
relate.
really made me out to be
Yeah.
someone that I'm not, and,
Right.
told a story that wasn't accurate. So you just remember that there's always 2 sides to every story, just like there are to,
Mhm.
your relationships and everything. So
Mm.
if that's going on, you should run because they're not ready to be
Agree.
in a relationship. So, another thing is to really make sure that the person you're dating and you have spent time alone between relationships, because otherwise, like the next person is just a band aid to try to make you feel better. And like if you're on the receiving end of that, like that person, they don't see you as a person. They just see you as like a need filler, just there to make their pain less, right?
Mm,
You're just
mhm.
serving a purpose for them. You're not a person. Um, a healed person is fine in their own company, their own solitude. They know how to manage themselves. They don't have like a need like that. And it doesn't mean you don't have a need to connect or want to be with people, but you don't view it as someone else's job to do it,
Yeah.
right? It's your job to go out and like see your friends and make plans and, you know, and to keep yourself occupied. At the end of the day, like your longest relationship is with yourself. So if someone can't stand to be alone, like my ex has never been single. He's never been
Oh,
single, right?
wow.
Like my ex-husband and I even have ex-boyfriends who never been single more than like 3 or 4 weeks.
Mm.
And like that is just a rest. I mean, if you can't sit alone in your filth, you know,
Yeah. No,
and like deal
really.
with it,
Yeah.
y- you're probably not ready for a relationship.
Yeah.
Um, Green flags are way more fun to talk about. So,
We don't talk about them enough, do we?
yeah, no. So you said, and a lot of times it's just an example of how low the bar is. And it's like, well, you opened the door for me. And I'm like, okay, you know, that's great. I'm glad. So we were kind of talking about boundaries earlier, and I was thinking about like sometimes women have gotten so used to someone pushing their boundaries as
Mm.
and like receiving it as an expression of them caring,
Mm.
right? Or being interested, that you're
Mhm.
not realizing that it's like basic disrespect,
Yeah.
right? So it's understanding that like if you express a boundary and someone else honors it, that is not a sign of their disinterest in you.
Right.
They're
Right.
just honoring your boundary. That's a green
Yes.
flag for
Yeah.
sure, right? Um,
Absolutely.
another another one I think about is that is if you meet someone who really sees their family of origin clearly, and if they have certain like stopgaps set up to make sure that they're living a healthy life, that doesn't mean that they are not family oriented, right? It just means they're like taking care of themselves and they see other people clearly. And so I think that not making like sweeping generalizations, you know, I work with a lot of Asian clients and they have you know, very much like honor your parents, honor your
Mhm.
family, and it's driven into them so much to the point where they are like 38 and still being really abused by their
Mm.
parents,
Mm.
and not really allowed to spread and to leave
Mhm.
and to fly away
Yeah.
because it's so driven in, and it's like you can honor your parents and your boundaries. You can.
Absolutely.
It takes
Absolutely.
work, right? Because it's a culture shift for your parents, but you totally can do it. It can be done, and so sometimes we spend most of the time on that because until they've defined that boundary, they can't start painting this life for themselves that they
Mm.
wanna have. So,
Yeah.
and then one of my favorite green flags to look for in a person is a really good sense of humor, and not just like polite laughter or like uncomfortable laughter or whatever, but just like real, like, I'm dying, belly aches, crying, I can't breathe, stop, oh my gosh, you know, like,
Yes.
because people like that are also generally smart
Yeah.
in useful ways, you know, like smart and useful ways, right? And they're really intuitive to what's going on in their environment, and they found a coping mechanism for life
Mhm.
that is a good one. And so I think that people like view it, and I'm like, hey, if you say someone's got a sense of humor, they're really making you laugh. Like that also covers like 4 other really important things. So
It
it's a good
really
sign,
does. That is a
right?
good sign. Yeah.
Yeah, I found out my ex didn't care about sense of humor at all. My ex-husband, I remember being like, "Well, it's really, really important to me that I laugh a lot." And he was like, "Oh, that's not important to me at all." And I was like, "Oh my god."
Yeah, no, I think it's hugely important. I
It
mean,
is hugely important. My
me
partner
too.
makes me laugh is one of the funniest people I've ever met. He makes
Yeah.
me laugh so hard. We all just laugh and laugh at least several times a day as a family. We are like laughing to, you know, I have asthma. I'll just have an asthma attack. Like we're laughing
I love that
until we
though.
can't breathe and, you know, and we've always done this. And I'm like, oh, is everything I ever wanted.
Yes. Yeah. No, I agree. I love to laugh, and that is important to me as well. I mean,
Yeah.
lot of things I could say about my ex-husband, but I will give him that. That was one of the things we did do. We did do a lot of laughing, and I have that in my now marriage. Laughing is very much important. Sense of humor. Mine is weird, but if you get it, then
Yeah.
You're my person.
Yeah, if someone else like if you could, like, look at each other and, like, bear just, like, the tiniest micro expression and
Yes.
you start laughing, like,
Oh my
it's so
gosh,
great.
it's
It's so
so
great.
important. It's like it's so funny because that's my thing. Like my sister and I are really close, and I think we have our own language. We're like 16 months apart. I can literally look at her like something could happen. I can look at her and she knows, and we'll just bust out laughing. Always been my thing. So I agree with you. Huge green flag for me, honey.
Yep,
So yeah,
yep.
ladies, find you somebody that can make you laugh. That is
Mhm.
major.
It'll last forever.
It really
Unlike
will.
money, unlike your body, you
Right,
know,
all of that, come on, yeah.
those
I
things
mean,
don't last.
it has its place, but not the most
Mhm.
important things, no.
Yeah.
Alright, so we're gonna go back to dating as a single mom. Protecting your peace is critical. Listen, that's a single mom, mom that's children are grown. I mean, protecting my peace is critical, period. But what boundaries do you recommend women set early on in dating?
So, do you remember those priorities I listed before?
Mhm,
I would say you make your list and you clearly state it early on because a good man will understand and
mhm,
respect it, right?
mhm.
And
Yeah,
if they can't respect it, then you'll know early that
yeah,
that's not going to work,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
And you're not telling them they're not important. You're telling them, I cannot dedicate resources to you until these other cups have been poured into, right?
Yes,
And I'm
I
not
agree.
saying you get the leftovers, but I'm
Right.
saying that these cups are bigger
Yeah,
and they just need more.
yeah,
And those are my main, these are my job, my
yes.
main jobs, right? So I I dated a lot of guys who I clearly stated that up front and they were fine with it and they honored it and respected it. So I know it is possible, right?
Yeah,
They understand it. And then you'll learn real quick if they don't. Um, I think the other thing is to have boundaries around like texting and like the timing of it.
yes.
If you are doing it alone with your kids, then maybe it's like lunchtime at work or like after they go to bed or something like that,
Right.
because you don't want your kids to see you on the phone all the time, like
No,
preoccupied
completely
with
distracted
this.
from them. Right.
Yeah. Um, and I think that so I don't know if we talked about this before, but a super common one I hear a lot is like, well, you don't introduce your kids to anyone you're dating until it's like super serious, you're engaged or something like that.
Mm,
And I would say, depending on your kid's age, I would push back on that because I feel like I would always, if I was exclusively seeing someone and I was trying to decide if there was potential, I would rather say, hey, we're all going to the pumpkin patch and my friend's coming and see how they interact. I wanna see how they
1000%.
interact early because if it's not going well, we're done.
1000%.
I'm
I
not
agree.
going to be like, "Oh, I've been secretly dating this person for 2 years who you haven't met. I'm so in love. We're planning our future. Now you're gonna meet them. Oh, you all hate each other? Too bad.
Yeah,
Are you
no.
gonna have a good life then?
No.
You're not
No,
gonna have a
no,
good life then. It's just
no.
drama." Right?
Right.
And I'm not saying, like, people want to misunderstand this. They want to say that you're, like, parading, people through the house and you're constantly telling someone, "This is your new daddy," or "This is," whatever. No, obviously, I'm not saying that. You can do if you are a social enough person, you can do low pressure meetups that you have age appropriately prepped your child for that are setting it up so you can have some distance to observe, right?
Absolutely.
Because the other
1000%.
thing is, like early on day when people go like, "Oh, what are you looking for?" And then people like tell them, it's like, that is such an insane question because somebody who just wants to win you or get approval or whatever, they're gonna say whatever you said,
Of course.
right?
Mhm.
So someone might tell you they love children, and then you see them with kids and you're like, "Have you met children?" Do you
Right.
even know? Do you know the concept of children? Do you understand it
Right.
all, right? And you would rather know that earlier because it's not your job. It's one thing to say like, "Oh, as the parent," and then you as the step parent, like, we need to discuss that, right? But it's
Right.
not your job to, like, teach them
Right.
how to have a diet. Like, that should come about kind of, like, naturally.
Right.
So I would say it's a common trope I've heard a lot. It's like the same like, "Oh, if you wanna recover from someone, it takes a week for every month you were together." As if there's math, as if your heart is like, "Oh, the math is complete. I'm now
For
healed."
goodness.
That's not how it works,
No.
right?
No,
And
absolutely
to
not.
say, "Oh, we never introduce people until we're, like, engaged." What could be more shocking to a child?
Oh my gosh, right. That's
Than to find
crazy.
out there's this inevitable thing happening that they get no f they don't get to give you any feedback on that will change the
Right.
course at all. Like, please.
Yeah, no, I agree with you there. I mean, when I was dating, my children were teenagers. Maybe my youngest was preteen, but same. I mean, listen, because it kind of was non-negotiable for me. If they didn't like you, yeah, sorry, it wasn't
Mhm.
gonna work. Um, but I did very low pressure introduction as well. We were going to a basketball game. It was some sort of exhibition game we went to. It was like, so we're all in the bleachers. My boys love basketball. My daughter, she does too. We were all into sports. And it was low pressure, and of course, you're gonna have one that may be like a little unsure, like, but because it was low pressure, it worked well. And then as time evolved, I mean, everything worked out great. But I am huge on that too. Like, ladies, I surely hope. But I get what you're saying because the thought process is, the woman that has a man in and out of their home all the time. Like, these kids are exposed to guys that it's the negative connotation of, yeah, you bring a man in and lay up with the man, and your kids see this man in and out of your house on rotation. That is not what she's talking about at all.
Yeah, I
You
don't
have
think I
to do
ever had a man sleep over when my daughter was home,
no, mm-mm.
ever.
No, no, and that's definitely
No,
not what she's talking about. So,
no.
and particularly now we're talking about ladies, we're over 40. So look, now this is not your first rodeo. So listen, you do it smart and you do what you honor your children too in this because they are a part of this process. And so
Mhm.
no, I'm with you. That's very, very important. I think that's a great point to drive home. So thank you for that.
Thanks.
Um, yeah. So, how do you help your clients balance vulnerability with discernment, especially when past relations have left them guarded? That's a good one.
Listen, you you don't wanna be carrying baggage forward, right? I did
Right.
a training the other day in my Facebook group, which is free, by the way. You can just join it. It's called the Dating Burnout Support Group. You can just join it,
Okay.
about lessons, not luggage. So you don't carry your baggage
Mhm.
forward. You have to really let go of it and just go, "Okay, what did I learn?" And that's all that
Mhm.
matters. You take forward what you
Mhm.
learned, and the rest you can literally rewrite because it's over. It doesn't
Right.
matter, right? If
Right.
you learned what you needed to learn, you can tell yourself a different story in your head if it makes it easier. Um, and I think the real thing is like trusting yourself. And I feel like when we take our licks in whatever area of life, that it erodes our own trust in ourself, our own judgment, and how we're going about things. And when we
Right.
don't have that trust in ourselves, then we are going to have trouble being discerning while still being open, right?
Mhm.
So if you really believe, hey, most of the time I make a pretty good decision, right? And I
Right.
forgive myself for the times I didn't because
Yeah.
sometimes I'm going to make mistakes. And I learned the following things and I will not make the following mistakes again, right? Then you can be discerning and keep your priorities in order. Um, and know that like here's something, if I hear it, this is when I'm going to walk away, right? Or when I learn this thing about this person, I'm going to walk away. And then here is something, if I learn it, I am going to approach it with more curiosity and try to get more information before I make a decision. And if you can figure that line out and trust yourself to make the decision,
Mm-hmm.
um, then it becomes a lot easier to hold the idea of being like kind of like more open and vulnerable, because it's always going to take vulnerability, right?
Right.
Um, and to also be discerning and protect yourself. You can do both. You can do
Yeah.
both.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm,
All right. Okay. Awesome. All right. And this is a big one. Let's get into dating fatigue.
mhm.
Um, what advice do you give when women feel discouraged, burned out, or jaded with dating apps in the modern dating scene?
Well, I think first of all is that it's built in to the system that you're
Mm-hmm.
going to get burned out. And I remember the first time it happened to me, I felt like so alone.
Mm-hmm.
I felt really alone because either my friends weren't there or felt the exact same way. And there just wasn't really a path. There wasn't really like, well, what is someone with a tender heart that wants to love? What do you do right now?
Right.
Um, and I think that the most important thing you can do is take a break. And I do a whole video of my YouTube about exactly how to do it, how to take your break, because it's not just like I've worked with a lot of clients who have dating app addiction, and we're totally able to get through it. It's completely solvable, because it's reflexive. It's like how you open your phone, you automatically open your text or you open your email, and they're doing the same thing, right? But I think that you need to take a real break and not just simply an abstinence of something,
Mm-hmm.
but actually
Mm-hmm.
to take all that energy and first of all, delete your accounts and delete the app, delete everything.
Yeah.
Not just delete the app, go in, delete your full account
Yeah.
and delete the apps, okay? Most people just delete the app and they think like it's deleted, and that's why you like match with a lot of people who never reply because they probably deleted the app, but they still
Yeah.
have an active account.
Active profile. Mm-hmm.
So, you need to delete everything and then you take all that energy and you turn it to something you know makes you feel good.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever fills you up, right? So it's not just not doing something, it's actively doing something else. That's how you recover, because if you're feeling crappy while you're out dating, like nothing good will happen,
Yeah.
right? If you're dragging yourself on a date or you're on dating apps just going like, "Oh, this is the worst. I hate this so much." Nothing good will happen. So
Right.
there's literally no point in doing it if you feel that way.
Right.
You're not gonna, I promise you, you have to let go of the FOMO. You will not miss out on the right person if you delete it. You won't, because even if they had shown up before, if you feel like crap, you wouldn't recognize them anyway. So
Good
it doesn't
point.
matter. And there's
Yeah.
more than one. I believe soulmates exist. I don't believe it's your job to find yours,
I like that. I like
because
that.
your soulmate might be your best friend.
Yeah.
That's my beliefs. So could be your sister, right? Could like,
Mhm.
so I don't believe that like that is actually how it works. I believe there are many, many, many people who, if you were in a relationship with them at a certain time in your lives, that would have a dynamic that would suit you for that time.
I like that. Okay. All right. Great answer. All right. So, finally, what would you say to the midlife woman who's afraid it's too late for her to find love again?
It's never too late. It's never ever ever too late. It's never too late, because as you grow, you learn more about your life, yourself, the world. You don't have the hormones anymore clouding your judgment. You are more clear-headed than you've ever been, and that is going to make it so much easier to identify the person who's right for you, because that's really what it's about, right? It's about that when you meet that person, that you put yourself in positions to be more likely to meet that person. And when you
Mhm.
do, you're more likely to recognize them, right?
Yes.
Instead of investing in someone who isn't the right person. So it is all possible. It is it is never too late. The more you know yourself, the better. So
Agreed.
it's never
Agreed.
too late. But you're living your life.
Yeah.
You're living your life, you're creating your life. You're not waiting, right?
Right.
So it's never too late though.
Never too late. I love it. Love it. Ladies, remember that. Listen, it's scary. And I get it, but honestly, you have to trust yourself. You've done, hopefully you've done the work. But life within itself teaches you so much. And I love what you said about lessons, not luggage. Loved that. So, ladies, I hope that you have really picked up on these amazing tips and her wisdom, and that you're applying it to yourself at this point in your life as you're navigating the dating field. I've been there. She's been there. We're both have happy endings over here. So we aspire to believe that there's many more out there. You just have to trust yourself, and make those good decisions for yourself. And like she said, there are good guys out there, but take your time. Yeah. And you also have resources now. It's not like back in the day where, so you utilize the resources like Caroline, and which brings me to my next point. Caroline, I want to know, I always like to ask all my guests. So, what projects do you have coming up? What do you got going on? How can we support you? Where can we find you? Tell us all the things.
Yeah, yeah. So I'm on TikTok under CHM Six Steps. My website is called The Six Steps Path. And I also am on YouTube. I have a YouTube channel also called The Six Steps. And I am working on a new webinar. So I usually do these, and they're usually on a Saturday, like mid morning.
Okay.
2 hours max. I really want to respect your time. And so it's very front loaded, because I want to get as much in as possible. And I'm
Mhm.
working on one for late September about like breakup recovery and defining your next chapter. I did one
Mhm.
earlier this year related to that topic. And I feel like that is pretty tactical. I have a bunch of free digital downloads. And also, like, your first session with me is always free. I will do as much as I can in that session for you as possible. So,
Okay.
your first session's always free, and it's just like this.
And
It's just like
honestly,
we're just talking.
just talking, like I said, I told her that, like we did, I always do before we get people scheduled on the show. I always do a meet and greet. Typically, y'all, it's like a 15-minute, hey, how are you? Tell me a little bit about yourself and your platform. Me and Caroline, because my husband was downstairs waiting on me. We were going to do dinner and watch something. I was up here, lost track of time. We were like two besties that like knew each other forever. And honestly, I looked at the time, I was like, oh my gosh. But I say that to say this. She is very approachable and it is a safe space and she gets it, ladies. And so, Lady Norman, I mean, really, um, she was delightful to talk to and it was so much fun and just her sharing her stories with me sharing mine with her was a great time. And she really does, she knows her stuff. So she's extremely helpful. And I say utilize resources are an amazing thing. So
Thank you so much, Sherry. It's been such a pleasure to be on here with you. I really enjoyed our conversation too. It was tons of fun.
it
And
was.
I love your questions. You really put me through it. And it was a good way to think about things again. Cause sometimes, you get kind of like in a routine. So
Yeah.
you really pushed me out to think about things and in a different way. And I really
Good.
appreciate that about you.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, thank you very much. And again, thank you so much for being here. And ladies, I'm going to have all of her information in a pinned comment. So for those that watching on YouTube, you will have the information. For those of you ladies that like to listen on podcasts, on the audio podcast, I will have all of that info in the show notes for you. So you will have information so you can reach out to Caroline and get all of her wonderful wisdom and help. So, any last words, Caroline, before we get off here and say goodbye?
No, I just want to say, like these are really the best years. These really
Yeah.
are. So,
Yep.
and you can make them the best. You have everything within you to make them the best years of your life. Just remember that you're allowed to.
That's right. You're allowed. I love that. And we're going to close right on that. Ladies, you're allowed. All right. Thank you so much for watching. Please tune in. We're on every Wednesday at 7 p.m. So come on back. Thank you, Caroline, again. And
Thank you.
again, if you haven't, ladies, subscribe, share, comment, all the things. Thank you so much. All right. Good night.